a guy named, I think, Martine, right, who was addicted to something, meth maybe, and the reason he was because his dad kept his stash under his bed as a child, and he tried to sell at 7 years old. And right when you begin to understand, oh, there are all kinds of factors that lead a person to where they are now, then our response, as you say in the book, is can be grace rather than judgment or condemnation or earn your way. Talk about grace and the importance of grace in terms of, and this is, I think, maybe where followers of Jesus and churches can really live live up to their calling is by extending grace. Talk about grace.
Yeah. Yeah. Once I realized, starting to understand the causes of homelessness, but not just the causes, but also the solutions and why we weren't doing them, it came back to that myth that we were just talking about, that ultimately we believe that people deserve their homelessness, or the flip side of that is we think they should earn their way out of it by proving to us that they deserve
Yeah.
housing or that they deserve help, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and looking at that from a theological perspective, it sounds like utter nonsense if you consider grace, right? Because
Yeah.
grace is this idea that we don't get what we deserve, that God
Yeah.
gives us good things, salvation, forgiveness, uh, everything,
Yeah.
good gifts, not because we deserve it, but because that's who God is. And then God
Yeah.
calls us to do the same.
Yeah.
So this whole conversation about whether what folks deserve just shouldn't be part of the Christian vocabulary. And I do a lot in the book to try to dispel those myths too, because I think it's important.
Yeah.
But something I kind of come back to as well is, even if by every metric that we believe somebody has done all of these things wrong to end up where they are, like, grace means that still doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the story about Martine, which I always have to put myself in that mode because that's not the person's real name. I
Okay.
have to
Right.
remember to say the fake name.
Yeah.
But the highlight of that story, or the reason I tell the story the way I do, is because Martine was actually born in the same month and the same year as I was,
Hmm.
in neighboring cities. Uh,
Wow.
and when I first met Martine, it really struck me when I found that out, because I kept thinking, oh my goodness, that could have been me.
Hmm.
But then the more I thought about it, the more I realized, no, it couldn't have.
Hmm.
Uh, because me and Martine were not born with the same circumstances, right?
Yeah.
He
Right.
had, he had meth stashed under his bed. If I knew what meth was, I would not have had any chance of getting it.
Right.
Even
Right.
if I really put my mind to it, there was no
Right.
way.
Yeah.
Um, and so that for me it's a helpful story to kind of dispel that myth that we're all presented with the same equal opportunity and equal choices,
Yeah.
and some people end up on the streets because they make bad choices, and I didn't because I made good choices, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just it's untrue.
Yeah.
And and even if it were, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah.